Hello everybody, this chess openings video is on the London system and also some lines of the Colle from white, and the London system starts with d4 and pretty much no matter what black does, so let's say a mainline move such as d5, then what white does is play bishop f4, so it avoids the main line of c4 or knight f3, and the point of the move, as you might be able to tell, is to control the e5 square. And white's general plan is usually quite quiet, but it's to put a knight usually onto e5 and to slowly pressurize black and just to have a small nagging space advantage. So bishop f5 is quite common, e3, e6, knight f3. So unless you want to play f6 as black, which is hardly good, you never play f6 as some people say, usually as black what you want to do is challenge white on the dark squares. So a move like c5 is quite thematic. Bishop d3 is often played to increase the speed of white's development, because black will often take and then queen takes. So white has 3 pieces developed and black has 0, although with a admittedly quite nice pawn structure from black. So knight c6 cuts out any queen b5 check, castle, knight f6, and now this is a thematic move of the London system and of the Colle, which is a bit like the Slav, to set up a pawn triangle. b2, d4, f2 is the sort of the point of the triangle, and the idea is to later on break with c4 or e4. Until then you have a solid sort of starting structure to build up on, and you're still controlling that e5 square. So knight bd2, black castles, and you reach a position similar to this. You may have reached this through a transposition of moves, because in some lines white plays knight e5 much earlier. But black still has the basic idea of castling and putting the bishop and knights on these squares. So here white is aiming to restrict black's movement, so it's very hard to find a good place to put the black queen at the moment. I'm still not so sure about b6 due to pawn takes on c5, and then knight b3 could be very annoying. So I would recommend just trying to get rid of that knight on e5 as quick as you can. So after you can successfully swap off knights, here you might be thinking that white has the advantage with no real weaknesses in pawn structure and a bishop that's on an aggressive square. And in the short term this may be the case. This bishop controls 2 very nice diagonals, but in the long term black only needs to keep the majority of his pawns on light squares, and black's bishop is a good bishop, as it's not having to defend its own pawns and is controlling the squares the pawns are not, and it also can attack white's pawns. So here black may want to open up the position with a move like c takes d4. But first maybe just play queen d7 to control some of the light squares such as b5, and after, say, rook fe1, rook fd8, rook ac1, and rook ac8, all the pieces are developed and we have an interesting kind of late middle game, early end game battle. but I feel that white's space advantage may not be that important here. Black has enough space to maneuver his forces. So this is one possible line, or similar line to what you may reach from the London system. Again, white doesn't try going for any crazy attacks or big initiatives, but just a slow pressure, slow stranglehold on the black position. So I would recommend swapping pieces on e5. Going back, another mainline move is knight f6. And if you play this, and black does bishop to f4, what I would recommend is that the person with white is going to try and control e5. So challenge immediately with d6. That way, white can't plant a knight onto the e5 square and will have to come up with another plan. So it may take them out of their comfort zones. And you can certainly develop a good plan here. One such idea is after white starts setting up his Colle sort of system, you can fianchetto as black, and then maybe challenge in the center with a move like c5. So again, it's challenging white on the dark squares. That's what you want to do as black. And again, as white, you just want to create your Colle. So again, the pawn triangle, b2, d4, f2. Again, and the bishop on d3 controls the key light squares, as well as your knight on f3, your pawn on d4, and your bishop on f4, all targeting e5. And here I might play a move like knight d5 as black. You don't need to. You can play castles, for example, but I had this game in a blitz game, and not to say I played brilliantly or anything, but I think I got a fairly nice structure for myself, with white retaining the bishop and then a6. So I'm trying to do a queenside attack similar to an English opening. After knight bd2 and b5, white now carries out the pawn break, the thematic pawn break of the Colle. e4, knight c6, knight c7, rook e1, bishop b7, queen c2, and finally castles kingside. So here the game degenerated, as it was blitz in my defence, but I think this game ended in a draw after both of us played quite badly. But here black has something to work with here. Control of the e5 square. There's a bit of pressure on the queen side, with the pawns being on c5 and b5. Double fianchetto, so influencing the centre. And again, white can play e5 here, potentially. So again, trying to cement control of e5. And the black knights can maneuver quite a lot. So this is quite an interesting middle game position. And I'm not really sure who is better. I would say it's roughly even. Okay, so finally, as a bit of a joke, but also a very good psychological idea, is after d4, if you know your opponent is going to play something like the London system, what I feel can't be underestimated enough is sometimes playing a move which may not be objectively best, but if it puts them out of their comfort zone, it may make them make mistakes or play inaccurate moves. And that can be a really big advantage for you. So this is from a game I played in a standard play game, because I knew my opponent was going to do this. And what do you think I played as black? So a move that doesn't look that good, but will get them out of their comfort zone. Yeah, g5. So again, crazy looking move, but it does have some threats. After my opponent's move, which was bishop to c1, due to being afraid of if bishop g3 I could play h5, trying to trap the bishop. Here I played h5 anyway, and now he just went about doing the general Colle plan and London system plan, but his bishop is now outside the pawn chain. So I made this game very tactical, and although this doesn't have much opening theory value to it, it's interesting to see how psychology can play a big role. And what I have to emphasize is that sometimes in the opening you need to change your plan. If something's not working out, then maybe you need to switch up a little, perhaps try and transpose into another opening. So this is clearly going to be very tactical. Black has left a lot of weaknesses and behind, and is not really developing. So perhaps you could try opening the center here as white. Maybe try sacking a pawn. You know, go into sort of tactical mode here, looking for maybe forks, double attacks, sacrifices, etc. But instead, my opponent just kept on with the original plan, and here it already feels like it's much better for black here. And my move d5 looks rather strange, but take the move back for a moment. White is trying to do something in the Colle, which is what? What's white's next move going to be? Yeah, it's going to be breaking with the pawns. It's going to be breaking with e4. So, simple plan for me. Take away that option. I don't want white doing what he's comfortable with. I don't want him doing the pawn break and being on familiar territory. I want to make this position, for want of use of a better word, a crazy looking position, where white's going to need to come up with a plan. And it's clear so far that he's not able to. He can't adjust to the situation. So now he tries the other pawn break with c4, and potentially, if he takes me, I can't take back with the e pawn because f5 would be under attack. And if I take with the knight, he may be able to play e4 then. Again, that might make him a little bit more comfortable. So c6, knight c3, knight a6. And now he does take, and I just decide to keep the position the way it is and not allow him to break out with knight b4, queen b1, knight takes, d3 check, queen takes, and now I can play e takes, d5. And from now on, I've got a very good position as black. And even if this is not amazing for black, even if it's about level, I feel very comfortable playing with this, and I know my opponent's not very comfortable playing this position, which not only gives me confidence and gives me a psychological boost, but it will also make him perhaps a bit panicky and more sort of prone to making errors in judgment. So sometimes, if you know what your opponent's going to play, or you see them reveal their hand and you realize what their plan is, you can perhaps sometimes play, admittedly not very soundly in terms of purely objective theoretical chess, but you can create very nice situations for yourself, both objectively and subjectively, by using little psychological tricks like this. So I hope you got something from this video. Comment, like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!